He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. No, I'm not playing any of that stupid White House, whatever that thing was with Obama. My number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Conservative hosts tripping over themselves, condemning it, and spending all day playing them. Anyway, I'm not. You know what happens tomorrow? We have a lot to get into today, but you know what happens tomorrow? Another massive move to advance the cause of tyranny. The ongoing totalitarianism, that's right, of Washington. Think that's extreme language? Well, look how they destroyed your health care. Some of you haven't had it destroyed yet, but you will. The American people never wanted that. The idea that you vote for a president or senator or congressman and that means that you support the most radical, absurd policies that they come up with because you voted for them is not correct. And this is one of the problems with the Republican Party, the kind of candidates they put up, but I'll deal with that later. What is Obama going to do tomorrow? Well, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to issue a massive report put together by a couple of hundred of his favorite climatologists and scientists and so forth. He's going to announce that there is no more debate on global warming. Do you even hear the top of the hour news in your cities and towns and so forth? They even use Obama speak now. Forever it was global warming. Before it was global cooling. Now it's climate change. That's not new to you. You've heard us talk about this many, many times over the years. But the media now stopped calling it global warming and only calls it climate change because the radical left in this country decided that it needed to change the PR so that every change in climate, every change in the weather can be attributed to this force out there. The religion of global warming. And that's exactly what it is. And I wrote about this over 5 years ago at great length in Liberty and Tyranny, and I was attacked for it. An entire chapter exposing this as the fraud that it is. So Obama's going to release this massive report, not just because he wants to release a massive report, but because he wants to act. Remember, he's got a pen? What he has is a dictatorial complex. That's what he has. Screw the pen. And so what they're going to do is they're going to cherry pick the weather that's occurred over the last year or two, droughts like we've never had droughts before, floods like we've never had floods before. I mean, you even look in the Bible. We've had floods, we've had locusts, all kinds of stuff. You have to use your common sense. You have to use your common sense. Ladies and gentlemen, any fluctuation we have in temperatures on Earth has nothing to do, or almost nothing to do, with what we do on Earth. It's the sun. And one day the sun will devour the Earth and all the other planets when it explodes. But that's way, way off. You know, maybe 12 years off. So don't even give it a thought. Just kidding, because you know how hyper the left gets. So the federal government, they can't even put together a website. Has now pulled together the smartest people who agree with the president, and they're going to put out this really thick report to convince you that this is the science, don't be a denier, get on with it. But what is really going on here? Well, I'm going to tell you what's really going on here, as I explained in Liberty and Tyranny. This isn't about weather. It's not about climate. It's not about science. Obamacare is not about health care. It's not about medicine. It is a revolution. It is a massive power grab. It is a massive usurpation of your constitutional rights, your private property rights. It is an absolute frontal assault on free market capitalism. It is an attack on your lifestyle, on your way of life. Even worse than that. Can you imagine how future generations are going to have to deal with this? And they dress it up, as all Marxists do, as for the people. Cleaner air, cleaner water. Cleaner air and cleaner water. No. They're not about cleaner air or cleaner water or better health care or more health care or anything of the sort. They're about government and the centralization of power. That's what global warming / climate change is all about. That's what Obamacare is all about. That's what amnesty is all about. That's what it's all about. Now, how do I know that? Well, not only do I study history, but their great hero, Mr. Progressive himself, the racist, segregationist, Woodrow Wilson, said so. Well, he didn't bring up global warming per se. He just said we got to find ways, we must find ways to destroy state sovereignty, to control the people, for we, the masterminds, the smartest people, to impose our will on all the rest. The Constitution's in the way. So this has been going on for a century. The Supreme Court has certainly been involved since 1939 at the minimum. The bureaucracy, we don't even know what the bureaucracy is. We talk about the bureaucracy, this massive, indescribable thing. We don't even know who issues these regulations that are treated as law. You know, the fundamental aspect of republicanism with a small r, with a lowercase r, is consent. Is consent. And yet everything Obama does is to skirt the consent of the people and their representatives. See, his election is good. That means he has all the power he wants, he claims. But the election of other people, no. He's got a pen and he can evade Congress. He can evade the states. And the reason he does that is to evade you. Now, this is going to make the country poorer. This is going to make the country less free. This is going to empower faceless bureaucrats and radical left politicians. And by the way, neo-statist Republicans too. They like power a lot, as a matter of fact. So this is the totalitarianism and the totalitarian mindset that I talk about. I said it's gradual. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's picking up pace, and it's picking up pace fast. This guy, what the hell is his name? Podesta. This guy Podesta, John Podesta, he is a menace. He's become filthy rich. His brother's become filthy rich. He was a lobbyist who's gone through an ugly divorce. But these are guys who are predators against the taxpayer, predators against the average citizen. They use Washington power and position and money to enrich themselves and to impose their will on you and me. And so Podesta, according to the Daily Caller, remember he was also Bill Clinton's impeachment counselor. He told reporters today that Congress could not derail the Obama administration's efforts to unilaterally enact policies to fight global warming. Now, I want you to think about that. Here's an advisor to our imperial president announcing brazenly, boldly, we're going to take control of this issue. Separation of powers be damned. The power of the purse be damned. Congress be damned. We've decided this is what we're going to do. And has anybody talked about this today? This is bigger than Benghazi, and I'll get back to Benghazi, don't worry. This is bigger than anything. Podesta said the president was committed to using executive orders to pass regulations under the Clean Air Act to limit carbon dioxide emissions and he says they cause global warming. Let me tell you something, folks. When the Clean Air Act was passed in the early 70s, carbon dioxide was not considered a pollutant. Not until a Supreme Court ruling 7 or 8 years ago, brought by Massachusetts against the Bush EPA, intentionally setting up the case to get it in front of the Supreme Court, where 5 justices, led by the notorious John Paul Stevens, ruled 5-4, not that carbon dioxide is a pollutant, but that it could be treated as a pollutant if the EPA concluded it's a pollutant. Well, how can it possibly be a pollutant? Ladies and gentlemen, there would be no oxygen but for carbon dioxide, because plants need carbon dioxide, what you exhale, to go through the process that we call photosynthesis, which creates oxygen. If we have no carbon dioxide, we have no Earth. We have what's called Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, nothing. And these damn fools that couldn't put a website together think they could control the Earth. What they really intend to do is control you. That's my point, please. It's an attack on you, the individual. It's an attack on your way of life. They're going to drive up your electricity costs. They're going to drive up your gasoline and oil costs. They're going to drive up the cost of having a home and using a car. Because they have a worldview that human beings simply consume too much. They're too happy. They're too prosperous in this country. And they use this word degrowth. Remember I talked about that the other day? Now that I'm talking about it, all you other hosts out there, write it down. Degrowth. Degrowth. What they want to do is shrink the size of our economy. Just as they want to shrink the size of our military, shrink the size of our space system, they want to shrink it. And there's a whole philosophy behind this. So Obama has made 2014, quote, his year of action, going to use executive authority to implement various actions on the president's agenda that are too divisive for Congress to consider. Can you imagine at the Constitutional Convention, they're the delegates, and one of them gets up and says, look, if the president has a quill pen and a messenger, as opposed to a cell phone, and he chooses to act on his own because Congress is too divided, or we can't get anything done, well then by God he's going to do it. Do you think for 2 seconds there's a single founder, a single framer at the Constitutional Convention who would support such a monarchy? Now I want you to listen to me. I really do. I'm trying to cut through all the static and all the rest. We live in a post-constitutional period. We live in a post-constitutional period. This president is acting without constitutional authority. He and his staff are bragging about it, and Congress isn't doing a damn thing about it. That's what Obamacare is all about. That's what global warming's all about. And if you disagree with me, well, then you're the denier. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.